Hi, I'm Amanda Brown of Fabric Heart, and I'm here today to make a really cool project with you using OLFA's Rotary Circle Cutter. This is by far one of my favorite OLFA tools, and I'm going to tell you all about it and how to use it, and I think you're going to fall in love with it as well. Today on our embroidery machines, we are making these reusable face wash pads. These are like for removing your makeup or putting toner on your face or just really getting into all the crooks and crannies of your face really well with your face wash. I am making these with a flannel on one side and a terry on the other so that they can be nice and soothing or get the job done. OLFA's Rotary Circle Cutter makes cutting the circles so much easier than trying to trace them and then cut them out with scissors and hope that you're accurate. It's adjustable, you get the exact right size of circle that you need, and it looks like a circle at the end, because let me tell you, some of my circles do not look like circles by the time I'm finished cutting them out with scissors. And the beauty of this project is it's done on your embroidery machine, so you don't even need to sew in a circle, which is a whole other skill set that some days I don't have a talent for, because we have the right tools to make us look so much more professional. Come make these with me today. For this project, you're going to need an embroidery machine, some flannel, and some Terrycloth, either double-sided or single-sided. I have a double-sided here. We are also going to use a Tearaway stabilizer, or if you have it, a wash-away stabilizer. Have your OLFA Appliqué scissors on hand, your rotary circle cutter, and a self-healing cutting mat. First up, let's tackle using the rotary circle cutter. It takes a little practice, but I have full faith in you. Across the top is a scale that's in inches. A bottom scale is in centimeters for those of you that use centimeters. I am Canadian and I use inches a majority of the time while I'm sewing. So each little line with a ball there, that's 1 inch. So we have up to 4.5 inches kind of there. For this project, we're going to cut our circles at 1 inch and 5/8. So we're going to move our pivot point. So you release it by turning the screw, and then you move it in so that the edge of it lines up with that 1 inch and 5/8 mark, and then you tighten up that screw so that it is nice and tight. Let's note a cool feature here is that we do have a blade cover that goes up and down, and that is to protect your blade and your fingers. And we also have this pivot point cover that comes off, and so you don't lose it, it fits on the end of the rotary circle cutter. Let me tell you, that pointy part, it is very pointy, so you want to make sure that you have that cover on hand at all times. It's a good time to practice the motion. You put the pivot point in your fabric or here just on the mat, and you ratchet around that pivot point, and that's the beauty of the rotary circle cutter. When you're feeling ready, we need to cut out 1 flannel and 1 terrycloth for each of the makeup remover pads. Have fun with this. The circles don't need to be perfect. These are makeup remover pads, so if they're a little off, that's okay. This is a great learning project. So you're going to cut out 1 of each. Even the terry, even though it's thicker, it cuts so nicely with our rotary circle cutter. But if you're still missing some spots as you're going around the circle, maybe adjust how you're holding the handle, or adjust right below the ratchet. There's an adjustment there, and sometimes that makes a big difference. We're moving on to the embroidery part of this project, and we're going to start by hooping up just our stabilizer. I'm using a small hoop here, but you might choose to do 3 or 4 of these at a time in a larger hoop. Attach your hoop to your machine, and let's load our design. You're going to load your design onto your machine, however works best for your machine. I use a USB a lot of the times. I load it up and then make sure that it is positioned in my hoop where I want it, and I stitch out the first step. This is the placement line for our first layer of our makeup pad. We're going to use the terry first here, and if you don't have a double-sided terry, some is just rough on one side and smooth on the other, you're going to put the right side down, and that is the fluffy side. This is double-sided, so it doesn't matter here which one I put down. We're going to put it down, make sure it lines up, tape it in place if you need to with like some painter's tape or some embroidery tape, and then you're going to stitch the next placement line, which this is just securing that to our stabilizer, and then we can put on our second layer of fabric. The second layer of fabric is our flannel, and I'm going to put that right side up and cover the entire circle, make sure that it's nice and lined up, of that terry, and I'm going to snap that back into my machine. You don't have to take your hoop out, but I chose to this time, and I'm going to then stitch out the next step, which is going to secure my Terrycloth and my flannel cloth together. The next step is it's going to kind of quilt it together, which it just is going to sew a couple of other circles in place, just holding all the layers together. For this example, I'm obviously using a black thread here just so that it stands out and it's easy for you to see what's happening next. But feel free for your project to use a thread that's going to match your fabrics so that they don't stand out as much. Or go bold and pick outlandish colors. I will fully support that. The very last step is a satin stitch around the outside edge of our fabric. And sewing in a circle is hard, but sewing in a circle on an embroidery machine, so easy. Once it's finished stitching out, all that is left to do is to remove the stabilizer. So take your hoop off your machine, unhoop your design, and you're going to tear away the stabilizer from around the outside of the circle and then from the back of the fabric. This process is perfect for watching a movie or watching TV, as you just carefully tear that stabilizer out of the back of your makeup pad. But if you chose to use a wash-away stabilizer, this is the genius part where you just take this makeup pad and get it wet and that stabilizer will disappear. It's like magic. We are working with terry and some flannel, and there's always these little stray bits when working with them. And so if you are so inclined, you do not have to do this step, but you can carefully trim those extra little flyaways, I like to call them, from the outside, or you could leave them. And when they fluff up, after you use them a couple times, you're not going to notice them as much. But just take care that you're not cutting any of the satin stitches around the outside. I really like having that smooth flannel in contrast to the terry to really help get the makeup off and soothe your eyes at the same time. And look at this one in an appropriate thread color, and I just love how it looks. Thank you for joining me today while we made these makeup remover pads. I hope you've enjoyed this project and loved learning a little bit more about one of my favorite tools, the OLFA Rotary Circle Cutter.